Hey viewers, today we're back with another riveting discussion sourced straight from the insightful minds of the AskWomen community. Join us as we uncover the lesser-known reasons why women choose to part ways in relationships. Let's jump right in. Grand Gate 88836. OP. What is a very underrated reason for breaking up from your significant other?
I once read about a girl breaking up with her boyfriend because he wasn't wiping properly and had, well, stripes in his underpants. And he was wearing those stripes facing forward.
Thank God, in my country, all men use bidets after going for number 2.
I mean, stripes aren't exactly a common occurrence, even for people who don't use bidets.
Reddit posts would definitely suggest otherwise. It's very alarming.
I think bad mental health can be a big reason for splitting from someone. Nobody tells you how lonely it can get to be with someone who has mental health issues. It can take years for you to understand them, and then eventually realize that you can't help them until they choose to help themselves. This is due to severe unawareness around mental health issues, I feel.
At the risk of sounding petty, they don't 100% love the way you look, even if they try to spin it in a positive way. I mean statements like, "She's not beautiful, but I love her personality and sense of humor," or "She's a 5 on a good day, but I guess so am I," or "She's not what I'd consider my type, but there's something about her." I appreciate honesty as much as one can, but in my opinion, this is just depressing. Beauty comes in so many different shapes and forms. How can someone not find it in a person they claim to love? To me, it basically means your SO is settling for you and will be forever comparing you to some kind of ideal you don't match.
Yep. And it's very sad that it is so common. How could you love someone and not be obsessed with everything about them? My biggest fear is that happening to me.
And when you notice that in a good relationship, the partner is absolutely smitten by their SO. And that is why she goes above and beyond for them. You realize that it will never be that case for you. At least, with the person you are currently in a relationship with. It's hurtful, but it's true. You might never get the kind of treatment you deserve, and they won't ever be fully satisfied with what they have. So it's better to end it.
From personal hygiene habits to challenges in attraction, it's fascinating to see the variety of reasons that can lead to breakups. Let's see the rest of the discussion.
I broke up with someone who had very conflicting interests and hobbies to mine, and assumed I would just be on board with taking them up with him. I like the outdoors. I do not like devoting every weekend to hiking.
I see this in a friend's marriage. They do his hobbies for most of their outings, and he likes expensive things that take up a lot of time like hunting, bush camping, portage, etc. So every time she gets time off work, they're doing his thing. They don't get to do her interests a fair amount emo. Especially as I get older, I really want to spend my free time doing things I genuinely like, not other people's hobbies.
Emo, this is the so underrated. I enjoy X, but I do not enjoy devoting all of my free time to X. Is absolutely valid in and of itself. And leaving someone who doesn't grasp that is so much better for mental health in the long run.
I once broke up with a guy because I found a skid mark in his undies. Hygiene is incredibly important to me. The guy didn't smell or anything, but every time I looked at him, all I could see was a dirty butthole. If you can't do the basic task of washing or wiping your booty hole correctly, I'm not going to stick around to figure out what other nasty habits you have.
This hits me because I had a mass removed from my colon, and sometimes it inflames and a mucousy discharge can leak out. It has a similar smell and color. I do my own laundry and shower a lot. I hate it about myself, and no partners have seen it.
You just gotta be honest about stuff like that. I have a skin condition that causes boils, and I get a recurring one on my tailbone. When I met my husband, I made sure he knew about the condition and that it can occasionally leak fluid.
Communication and hoping that knowing it is medical related and a person tries to stay on top of it helps. It's also not regular the way a hygiene habit might be.
Smell. And I don't mean bad smell, just smell. I had a SO whose body odor didn't attract me. He was a very excessively clean person, but I was always thinking, I'm not attracted to the way he smells. It was more of a chemical sensation, you know, pheromones and shit. I'm aware it may sound crazy. I just couldn't imagine a life with this person, sleeping forever in the same bed, etc. I left him for totally unrelated reasons. He was abusive. So explaining this crazy thing didn't turn out to be necessary, El Mao.
I'm the same way. I've never broken up with someone over it. However, I've had a few breakups where, in retrospect, I was able to connect something is just kind of off with I'm not drawn to their smell. None of these women have smelled bad in any way, just not for me. When I'm really into someone, I'm even attracted to the smell of their BO, as odd as that seems.
We can say, the chemical attraction is not working on this case. Differences, conflicting interests. Let's hear more from the rest.
If they get in the way of your sleep or your food.
100% agree on food. I had a guy once eat my leftovers that I was looking forward to eating all day. I'm not gonna say it's the reason I broke things off, but it was definitely top 3.
Addiction.
True. Pause 1. I used to be the I will change him girl until I went to therapy.
You know, one thing that doesn't get talked about enough is having different life goals and values as a reason to break up with someone. It's not just about whether you both like the same movies or enjoy the same hobbies. It's about where you see yourselves going in life and what you believe in. Imagine you're super into traveling the world and experiencing new cultures, but your partner is more about settling down in one place and building a stable career. It might not seem like a big deal at first, but over time, those differences can really start to wear on the relationship. You might find yourself feeling like you're not on the same page about the important stuff, like where you want to live or what you want to prioritize in life. So, yeah, having different life goals and values might not be the most obvious reason to break up, but it can definitely be a deal breaker if you're not aligned in those areas.
It never ceases to amaze me that people ignore compatibility issues. It's the most important feature in a relationship. And marriages that continue regardless of how whack the lack of compatibility is.
Any reason you want. Breakups don't need a reason.
I've said it 1,000 times, there is no bad reason to break up. If there is anything that will keep you from loving someone fully, then don't be with them. It can be petty, but that doesn't mean it's a bad reason.
It might seem superficial, but hey, they are valid. After all, they stand by their own preferences.
They're just not making you happy. You're just not happy with them. And you deep down feel you could be happier elsewhere, either alone or with someone else. They're a good, kind person, a responsible adult, etc. But they're not it for you. This is often considered a trivial reason to end a relationship or marriage, but it's such a big deal. You should want to be happy and should want them to be happy too. You know when you're not happy. This idea that you should only leave a partnership or friendship because of something deemed more serious doesn't feel right to me. One of the hardest things is walking away from someone who is not abusing you, is really good on paper, but it's just not doing it for you because society will always shame people, and especially women, for leaving because of unhappiness. That inkling feeling underneath of they might not be it for me, we are taught to just not listen to ourselves.
He prioritized his friends over me. I think prioritizing friends and family are important, but it got to a point where I was miserable. We were both mid-30s, and he wanted to go to parties and bars all the time to see his friends. We never had quality time together. It reached its breaking point when my aunt suffered cardiac arrest and was airlifted from 700 kilometers away to the hospital in my city. Instead of coming to the hospital with me, or even emotionally supporting me when I went to be with her, he went to the bar and got drunk. I didn't even get a text or call for 24 HRs. He just disappeared. When I got upset, he said, "Seeing Dave is more important. He's my friend." I broke up with him the next day. My aunt died a few hours later.
Porn addiction. Society has brainwashed people into thinking this is normal behavior.
There wasn't an insane conspiracy theory this dude didn't believe.
Anything hygiene related, e.g. doesn't flush the toilet properly, doesn't use bleach and toilet brush, you'd be surprised how many have this bad habit, doesn't wipe the shower bath down. If you're going to be filthy, you need to have your own bathroom. I know someone that's otherwise outwardly clean, but he would be generally considered quite filthy given certain bad habits.
I broke up because I was planning all the dates and initiating all dates and affection. Needed more effort from his side, and I'm not going to beg for it.
Dude recently told me he had a problem feeling wanted, since ladies always expect the guy to do the initiating. So I did the initiating. But I'm cool with that, but you still gotta show effort, or you don't show interest. Maybe that's the real reason he's having the problems he's having, though.
Remember, everyone, efforts should come from both ends. That's why we call it partnership. Off to the other comments.
Because he farted all the time and thought it was so funny that it grossed me out so much.
He just wasn't that into me. Multiple SOs. It took a while to acknowledge that I wanted to be with someone who was stoked to be with me, that it was possible and okay to hold out for that.
Video games are far more important than spending time with their partner. I'm a very simple person. I don't care about gifts or having money spent on me. Let's go for a walk in the park. Just spend some time with me. My ex-husband would find any excuse to not spend time with me. The most common was gas costs money. I'd rather hang out at home. His idea of hanging out was him playing video games with his online friends while I sat quietly watching TV. But with the volume super low so his friends wouldn't be distracted. God forbid I laughed at all. He'd get so mad at me for it. When I hit 30, I had enough. I left and haven't seen him since. I'm in a much better place now. I have a husband and a baby. He loves spending time with as a family. Going out for supper together. Going to the national park, 15 minutes away, just to get out of the house. You don't have to stay in any relation that you're not happy in. Any reason is a valid reason to leave.
Sexual chemistry.
I broke up with a guy because he rarely brushed his teeth. Like only 1 X a week. It was so gross. Porn addiction is something I realized that is very, very difficult to overcome, so I left my fiancé after 3 YRs. I couldn't get past his addiction. It reared its ugly head way too often, and I didn't want to deal with that for the rest of my life. I was heartbroken, but it needed to be done. I divorced my husband because of a dead bedroom. We were in our late 20s. We had 2 kids. That's all we wanted. So I knew sex was off the table. We divorced when my youngest son was 2 years old, and the last time we had sex was the day I got pregnant with him. Best decision ever. I also broke up with another man because he wouldn't give me space. Even spying on me when I'm in the living room reading a book. Literally spying on me by getting on all fours and crouching around the corner to watch me. Talk about creepy. Now I just don't date. I have a bad man picker and am working on self-growth and worthiness so I can hone in on attracting better men.
Everyone deserves to be with someone who values and cherishes them, as well as someone who sought self-improvement. If they can't better themselves for their sake or yours, then they might not be the one. Let's move on to the remaining comments.
Honestly, the maturity levels. I think a lot of women believe that they can bring their partner up to speed. But why should you take on that labor in the first place? There were a lot of reasons my last relationship didn't work out, but I have realized since that he simply wasn't on my level in terms of maturity. I am someone who has no familial support network and didn't grow up with money, while his family was incredibly involved with each other and independently wealthy. He had no self-initiative and was happy to sit in discomfort until someone came and fixed it for him. I am someone who is very empathetic, and I am always working towards improving not just my own life, but the lives of those I care about. He was happy to profit from that and not support me in the ways I asked for.
This post is the first thing I'm seeing immediately after breaking up with my boyfriend. My reasons, not that he heard me out at all, were pretty normal, but I think the most unconventional would be financial situation. I'm by no means a materialist, but to have absolutely no drive towards getting a job or an education at 30 years old is not for me. No savings account, no retirement account, checking in the red and $5K in credit card debt, totally wrecked credit score, and he just sits in his mom's apartment playing video games all day, and he couldn't be happier. Yeah, that's not someone I can start a family with.
You want to?
You're just not feeling it anymore. Maybe they did absolutely nothing wrong, but gradually your feelings just start to fade. It's not fair that someone would get dumped when they have been a good partner, but at the same time, it wouldn't be fair to them to stay in the relationship when your feelings for them aren't what they used to be.
Inconsistency in calling even when I express my distaste.
You wouldn't marry them. I wasted so much time dating people I didn't instantly see myself spending the rest of my life with. If it's not a fuck yes, it's a fuck no. No maybes allowed. If they don't tick all your boxes from day one and then each day isn't a validation of all those boxes getting ticked, you're just wasting your time.
Finding your perfect match encompasses more than just love. It requires effort, consistency, compatibility, and a generous blend of physical and chemical attraction. You seek someone who truly understands you, emotionally, mentally, and even hygienically. So, what about you? What are your underrated reasons to break up with someone? Tell us in the comments.